Hi, this is Terry again from Bonsai Tree, and today I'm going to show you how to repot your Tolumnia from a mount that is starting to fall apart. It inevitably happens depending on what your mount is made from, but at that point in time maybe we want to either put it onto a new mount or into a container, but I'm going to show you today how to remove it from the mount and put it into a clay pot. If your plant has been allowed some time to develop and grow onto the mount, and you would find that there's going to be roots going into all the crevices, removing it from the mount can be quite challenging. You are going to break some of the roots and the plant might initially suffer from some setback, but it will develop once again and grow new roots. However, what I would recommend is that before you remove the plant from the mount, you're going to soak the plant in some water so that the roots become more fleshy and easier to detach from the mount. Your choices of containers include an air pot, which of course is going to be a little bit truer to the way that Tolumnia would naturally grow, with their roots more exposed. Alternatively, if you live in a drier area, or if you want to reduce the amount of watering that you need to give to the plant, a clay container is advisable. And this is a 9 centimeter Duroma container, and this is I think it's an 8 or 7 centimeter air pot. If you're not sure which container you want to use, what I would recommend is that you put the Tolumnia into the air pot first with your growing medium, and then if there is still insufficient moisture being given to the plant, if you see the plant wilting, then you can easily slip this air pot directly into the 9 centimeter container. The growing mediums that you have to choose from, of course, include sphagnum moss, but I would suggest the pumice that we import from Japan called Hyuga. It's a very porous stone and it doesn't degrade like a bark would. Be sure to order the medium particle size because this is considerably coarser, as you can see. What's great about this medium also is that it will allow a very good circulation of air around the root zone, which will further help to prevent root rot. And then to complete the operation, you're probably going to need a pair of scissors, perhaps some pliers and some cutters. And then, of course, to make sure that you don't forget what plant you're potting, you'd need some plant markers and a permanent pen. Now, after soaking your Tolumnia for a few minutes, 5 to 10 minutes, you would see that the roots are a lot more flexible and not as brittle as they are when they're dry. This just makes it a lot easier to remove them, and obviously at the same time it might have an effect on the mount itself, making it easier to break apart, because essentially the next step is that we need to break this mount up slightly. And we don't need to remove all of the traces of the mount, but we want to get as much of it removed as possible, and then the remainder will go into our container. So I was effectively able to remove all of the mount without breaking many of the roots. As you can see, a lot of the roots are still intact. Just remember to label your orchid so that you don't forget what plant it is. Then you need to just secure a piece of wire. I'm using anodized aluminium wire to secure onto the container, which you will then place the plant marker onto. So I've decided to plant this Tolumnia into an air pot first. The idea behind that is that if I find that the roots are staying too moist under my watering regime, then I can very easily remove the air pot from the clay container. Certainly in the wetter months when we're getting more rain. So I'm going to first put a little bit of pumice into the air pot, and then I'm going to carefully place the plant into that, working the roots a little bit into the soil, and then finishing that off with a little bit more pumice. Gently tease the roots into the container. I'm just using a wooden chopstick, and then just top up with more pumice and just carefully work those particles in around the roots just to get it stable. Fill up all those cavities and then just top it off a little bit, and we're almost done. As you can see, the plant is fairly stable in the container, and if we need to, we can remove the air pot from the clay pot. And then the second to final step is just putting the label on so that you don't forget what plant you're working with. And now we're going to give it a good watering.